Are we really going to sit here, look at each other with a straight face, and pretend that a strange elbow injury for a frontline starting pitcher is just a minor bump in the road that we can brush off with a smile and a few light bullpen sessions? Welcome back, baseball fans, to another explosive edition of our channel, where we do not sugarcoat the reality of the diamond. Today, we have a situation brewing up north that should have every single Toronto Blue Jays supporter sweating bullets, pacing the floor, and frantically refreshing their feeds for medical updates. We are talking about Jose Berrios, the man who is supposed to be a pillar of this rotation, suddenly being diagnosed with elbow inflammation. But here is the absolute kicker, the twist that makes this entire saga feel like a psychological thriller. Berios himself says he feels absolutely fine. He calls the diagnosis strange. He has no pain, no discomfort, no warning signs flashing in his multi-million-dollar right arm. Yet, an MRI taken for World Baseball Classic insurance purposes flags something ominous enough to completely shut down his dream of pitching for Team Puerto Rico in front of his hometown family and friends. Imagine the sheer heartbreak of that moment. You are gearing up for the pride of your life, ready to wear your nation's colors, and a piece of paper from an insurance underwriter tells you that your elbow is a liability. This is not just a physical setback. This is an emotional gut punch for a competitor who lives for the big stage. The Blue Jays medical staff immediately swooped in, conducted their own independent MRI, and confirmed the presence of this mysterious inflammation. Manager John Schneider is out here doing damage control, trying to project an aura of absolute calm, stressing to the media that Berios feels great and will continue throwing in spring training, albeit skipping a scheduled start. But let us be brutally honest with ourselves for a second. Since when does the phrase elbow inflammation ever end with a collective sigh of relief in modern Major League Baseball? We are living in an era where the UCL is the most fragile, terrifying acronym in sports. When a pitcher's elbow barks, even if the pitcher himself cannot hear the bark, the echoes reverberate through the entire franchise. The stakes are astronomically high right now. The Blue Jays are not in a position to gamble with the structural integrity of their starting rotation. They are in a bloodbath of an American League East division, where a single weak link can send you spiraling into the basement before the All-Star break. So we have to ask the hard questions. Is this a false alarm? A hyper-cautious medical staff overreacting to a minor anomaly? Or is this the terrifying calm before the storm? Is Jose Berrios pitching on borrowed time? We need to unpack the layers of this medical mystery, because the implications for Toronto's championship aspirations are absolutely massive, and the clock is ticking toward opening day. To truly understand the gravity of this strange, asymptomatic inflammation, we have to dive deep into the historical context of pitching mechanics and the terrifying evolution of elbow injuries in baseball. Let us take a trip down memory lane, fans. How many times have we heard a pitcher stand in front of his locker, look the reporters dead in the eye, and say, "I feel great, it's just a little tightness," only to be scheduled for Tommy John surgery less than 72 hours later? The history of this sport is littered with the shattered dreams of pitchers who trusted their pain tolerance over the undeniable truth of magnetic resonance imaging. The elbow joint of a major league pitcher is subjected to unnatural, violent forces every single time they snap off a breaking ball or dial up a fastball in the upper 90s. It is a biomechanical nightmare. When inflammation appears on an MRI without accompanying pain, it often means the surrounding muscles and tendons are working overtime to compensate for a microscopic structural deficiency. It is the body's silent alarm system. If we look back at similar cases over the past decade, we see a chilling pattern. Pitchers who try to push through painless inflammation often end up altering their arm slot by a fraction of an inch to subconsciously protect the joint. That tiny mechanical deviation leads to shoulder issues, lat strains, or eventually, the catastrophic pop of the ulnar collateral ligament. Jose Berrios has historically been one of the most durable, reliable workhorses in the league. He is a guy who prides himself on taking the ball every fifth day, eating innings, and saving the bullpen. But that durability is exactly what makes this situation so incredibly precarious. When a workhorse suddenly shows signs of wear and tear, the foundation of the team trembles. Let us look at the numbers from his previous campaign. A 4.17 ERA, a 1.301 WHIP, and 138 strikeouts across 166 innings pitched. Those are solid middle-of-the-rotation numbers, but they also indicate a pitcher who has to grind through lineups, relying heavily on the sharp late bite of his slurve, a pitch that puts immense torque on the elbow. If that inflammation prevents him from snapping off that breaking ball with absolute conviction, his effectiveness plummets. We have seen aces turn into batting practice pitchers because they lost the feel for their secondary pitches due to underlying elbow issues. The Blue Jays front office knows this history. They know the ghosts of pitchers past who ignored the warning signs. That is why the insurance company's refusal to cover him for the World Baseball Classic is such a massive red flag. Insurance actuaries do not operate on emotion. They operate on cold, hard data and risk assessment. If the math says Berrios' elbow is a high-risk asset, the Blue Jays cannot afford to just cross their fingers and hope for the best. They have to manage this with surgical precision, balancing the player's desire to compete with the long-term survival of their pitching staff. Now, let us project this situation forward and analyze the catastrophic ripple effects this could have on the Toronto Blue Jays' entire season, their payroll flexibility, and the delicate chemistry of their clubhouse. What happens if John Schneider's optimism is misplaced? What happens if Berios goes out there for a spring training tune-up, throws a high-effort fastball, and suddenly feels that dreaded sharp pain? The impact on the roster would be nothing short of devastating. We are talking about a massive void in the starting rotation that cannot be easily filled by a waiver wire pickup or a AA prospect. If Berios goes down for an extended period, the pressure immediately shifts to the rest of the staff. The ace has to throw more innings, the number 5 starter has to pitch like a number 3, and the bullpen, oh, the poor bullpen, gets taxed to the absolute limit by mid-May. We have seen this movie before. An overworked bullpen leads to blown saves in August, which leads to missing the playoffs by a single game in October. Furthermore, let us talk about the financial paralysis this causes. Berios is locked into a massive, long-term contract. If he is sidelined, that is a colossal chunk of the payroll sitting in the trainer's room, producing zero return on investment. It handcuffs the front office at the trade deadline. How can you aggressively pursue a rental bat or a shutdown closer when you are desperately scrambling to find starting pitching depth just to survive the week? The cap hit and the luxury tax implications become a suffocating blanket over the team's ambitions. And what about the psychological toll on the locker room? Baseball is a game of momentum and belief. When the guys in the dugout see one of their most respected veterans battling a mysterious, lingering issue, it creates an underlying anxiety. The defense plays a little tighter. The hitters feel the pressure to score 6 runs a game just to provide a cushion, and the entire dynamic of the team shifts from aggressive confidence to cautious survival. On the flip side, what if Berios manages to pitch through it? What if he alters his mechanics just enough to survive, but his ERA balloons to 5.50? The manager is then faced with the agonizing decision of pulling a highly paid, proud veteran from the rotation in the middle of a pennant race. It is a lose-lose scenario unless this inflammation magically vanishes. The Blue Jays are walking a tightrope over a canyon right now. Every bullpen session, every flat ground throwing exercise, every single pitch Berios throws in the coming weeks will be scrutinized under a microscope. The margin for error in the American League is 0. You cannot win a World Series with a compromised rotation, and right now, the Toronto Blue Jays have a massive glowing question mark sitting right in the middle of theirs. As we wrap up this deep dive into the Jose Berrios elbow saga, we have to take the pulse of the Blue Jays faithful because the fan base is currently split right down the middle, and the tension is palpable. Half of the fans are absolutely furious, screaming at their screens, demanding that the front office shut Berios down immediately, put him in bubble wrap, and let the inflammation completely subside, even if it means he misses the first month of the regular season. They are looking at the long game, terrified of a potential Tommy John surgery that would wipe out his 2026 and 2027 seasons. The other half of the fan base is clinging to John Schneider's optimistic updates, choosing to believe that the player knows his body best. If Berios says he feels fine, let the man pitch. They argue that you cannot win the division by playing scared, and that modern MRIs are too sensitive, flagging every minor imperfection that pitchers have been playing through for decades. This divide highlights the sheer anxiety that defines being a baseball fan in the modern era. We are paralyzed by medical terminology and insurance protocols. But here is the ultimate truth, the final verdict on this entire situation. The Toronto Blue Jays are playing a very dangerous game of Russian roulette with their rotation. While we all respect Berrios' warrior mentality and his heartbreak over missing the World Baseball Classic in Puerto Rico, the franchise must protect the player from himself. The fact that an insurance company, an entity that calculates risk for a living, refused to back his elbow should be the only evidence the Blue Jays need to proceed with extreme, uncompromising caution. We will be monitoring every single pitch, every grimace, and every post-game interview as this story develops, because the fate of Toronto's season might just rest on the microscopic fibers of Jose Berrios' right elbow. Now I want to hear from you, the true fans who live and breathe this sport. Drop a comment down below right now. Do you think the Blue Jays are downplaying this injury to avoid panic? Or is this just a minor hiccup blown out of proportion by insurance technicalities? Let your voice be heard in the comments section. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and get the most raw, unfiltered sports analysis on YouTube, you need to smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and share this video with every baseball fan you know. We are bringing you the hard truths every single day. Until next time, keep your eyes on the diamond and never stop questioning the narrative.